Hi, this is Tom. Welcome to the Tales of Mystara podcast. I'd like to start by saying thanks for giving my podcast a shot. I really appreciate you taking the time to listen, especially with the wealth of Dungeons and Dragons related content out there. My hope is that I can provide something a little bit different here, that will set this aside from the other podcasts. If you stick with it, and you enjoy it, then I have achieved what I set out to do, to entertain, tell a story, immerse an audience, and share my love of D&D. Once again, thanks for listening, and without further ado, let's get on with the show. The following podcast is for a mature audience and contains detailed descriptions of violence. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to the Tales of Mystara podcast, an experimental podcast that mixes traditional storytelling with old-school pen and paper role-playing games played entirely solo. This could be considered a dark fantasy novel or a solo Dungeons and Dragons campaign. If treated like a novel, then nothing can be assumed. Only the dice can determine the outcome. It cannot be known whether a character will live or die. Nothing is precious. No one is safe from the roll of the dice. If treated like a tabletop role-playing game, there are no players. There is no dungeon master. There is only me, the rules, and the dice. The Immortals descended to Lave, a Traldar village, to find clever youths and give them secrets they could use to defeat the Beastmen. They visited Halav Redhair, a maker of stone knives, and taught him to forge weapons and armour of bronze. They also taught him the art of the sword and the strategy of warfare. They visited Petra, a maker of pottery, and taught her art of the bow, the craft of medicine, the use of the potter's wheel, the spinning of flax and use of the loom. They visited Zerkev, a huntsman, and taught him how to tame and ride and fight from horses, how to train dogs to fight for their masters, how to walk silent as the cat, swim as the fish, see as the hawk. The Song of King Halav. This is an ancient work maintained by generations of bards before finally being committed to writing about 6 centuries ago. Date: Moldane 4, Claremont, AC 1000, Time 9:01 AM. Party status: Claudius 4 hit points, Theodore 4 hit points, Elmo 3 hit points, Ilyana 3 hit points, Yolanda 4 hit points. After a barrage of 10 arrows came at the party from the kobolds guarding the ruined castle, of which most were off target, one barely missed Claudius, another grazed Ilyana's arm, and a third embedded itself painfully into Elmo's shoulder. In the second round of combat, characters with missile weapons will fire, the others will inch closer, but Theodore is going to cast the sleep spell at the kobolds, who are all within range. Initiative rolls. Party 6. Kobolds 1. Elmo fires his sling at one of the kobolds. He has a -1 penalty at this range, but also a +1 to general missile fire, so there is no adjustment to the roll. Rolling to hit. 13. Hit. 4 damage. A kobold is dead. 9 remain. Claudius tries with his sling. 16. Hit. Another 4 damage. 2 kobolds are dead. 8 remain. Yolanda fires an arrow from her short bow. 13. Also a hit. 4. -1 strength penalty. Almost a kill, but not quite. Ilyena moves another 10 feet closer. Her distance is now 90 feet. Theodore attempts to cast sleep. He concentrates fiercely, gestures, and speaks without interruption. The spell will last for 7 turns. As Theodore casts the sleep spell, the party sees all the kobolds stop and fall over. The memory of the sleep spell is now forgotten by Theodore. The battle is over. The characters approach the kobolds. Without hesitation, Yolanda begins to slice the throats of the sleeping kobolds. "I want this one alive," Claudius says, resting a boot on the chest of one of the kobolds. Elmo scuttles over and ties the kobold up securely. The party now has a prisoner. The party crowd around the prisoner, and Yolanda slaps the kobold hard across the face to wake it up. The kobold awakens and looks around in panic. He struggles a bit but finds himself securely tied. In a strange, dog-like voice, he growls,
"What do you want?"
"We want to know what you're doing here," Ilyena says.
"I'm just a guard,"
the kobold responds. "Guarding what exactly?" Claudius pitches in. The kobold grins widely.
"If you let me go,"
he says,
"I will give you treasure."
Yolanda quickly drags the kobold up by its ropes, and holding a loose end so he can't get away, she kicks the kobold forward. "Show me,"
"You let me go,"
the kobold says. "Sure, but first show me this treasure," Yolanda says. The kobold leads the party to a pile of rubble by the East Tower ruin. After digging for a minute, he pulls out a small iron box. Yolanda snatches it away greedily. The box is not locked. It contains 100 gold pieces and a black gem of onyx. Yolanda believes it to be worth about 50 gold pieces. She snaps the box shut and turns to Claudius, who is eyeing her up suspiciously. He manages to catch the box as Yolanda suddenly tosses it over. "We will settle later," she says, and slits the kobold's throat. Claudius shakes his head disapprovingly. The party gathers the treasure from the kobolds and finds a total of 80 copper pieces in their sacks. They also find 8 quivers of arrows with 10 in each quiver. Their short swords are not well made and are worthless. Yolanda tops up her own quiver and leaves the rest of the arrows discarded to avoid encumbrance. Perhaps she might grab the rest on the way out. The party make their way up a path through the rubble which leads from the main gate to the doors of the castle ruin. The walls of this castle still look firm, and this appears to be the only entrance. The doors are not locked, and they open easily. Beyond the doors, the sunlight brightens a large 30-foot by 40-foot room which has 3 exits, an open doorway in the east and west walls, and a door in the middle of the north wall. The rooms to the sides are in darkness. Claudius lights his lantern, and Ilyena lights a torch. The party searches the area, but nothing of interest remains. Now the dice will decide what the party will do next. On a roll of 1 or 2 on a d6, the party will go north to the next door. On a roll of 3 or 4, the party will go west. On a roll of 5 or 6, the party will go east. I rolled a 3, the party will go west. The party enters a 30-foot by 30-foot room with another doorway on the west wall. The room contains the remains of 3 chairs and 2 small tables. The fireplace is on the middle of the north wall. Yolanda carefully searches the room, finding 3 old silver teaspoons on one of the small broken tables. She sneaks them into her backpack when nobody is watching. Elmo finds an old bag of dried up peas in a corner of the room. "What's the difference between roast beef and pea soup?" he says. Ilyena sighs. "Go on," Fyodor says. "It's easy to roast beef, but it's not easy to pea soup," Elmo responds. The party met his terrible joke with a mixture of head shaking and more sighs. "Terrible," Yolanda says. "Keep hold of them. You never know, they might come in handy." "Probably more likely to come in handy than his sense of humour," Ilyena says. These are the beliefs of the Church of Karameikos. Number 1. That the acts of assault, abuse, murder, theft, lying, adultery, and living together without the sanctity of matrimony are sins. 2. That an unwillingness on the part of a sinner to purify himself of sin is itself a sin, punishable by separation from the Church, the eventual result of which is the sinner's spirit becoming too stained ever to be redeemed. 3. That the individual's role in the afterlife will be determined by the amount of stain his spirit bears at the time of his death. 4. That it is the responsibility of members of the Church to bring the benefits of Church philosophy to the unbeliever, and to remain present even in hostile lands, so that the benefits of the Church be denied to no one who desires them. And 5. That magic ritual with no confirmed basis in formal magic use or clerical ritual constitutes ignorant superstition, and therefore the use of lucky charms, tea readings, palm readings, card readings, and so forth are all valueless wastes of time and effort. "Shine your torch in the fireplace so I can take a better look inside," Elmo instructs Ilyena. He looks up the chimney, poking around to see if anything of value is hidden there. Suddenly, a shower of rubble comes down on him and a large dark shape comes flying out. "It's a bat!" Claudius shouts and grips his mace. The bat flies out and attacks Elmo. I will make a roll to see if the party is surprised. The party is surprised by the bat's sudden appearance. The bat attempts to bite Elmore and requires a 13 to hit. 8. It's a miss. Although surprised, Elmore managed to duck out of the way just in time. Claudius will try and strike the bat with his mace, Ilyena with her sword. Theodore will attempt to take cover behind one of the broken chairs. Elmore will fire a slingstone at the bat, and Yolanda will fire her bow. I will now roll initiative. Party 1. Bat 3. The bat attempts to bite Ilyena next, but she manages to dodge the bat effortlessly. Theodore grabs a broken chair and flees to the opposite end of the room, holding the chair in front of him for cover. Claudius and Ilyena close in on the bat, ready to strike it from the air. Elmo fires a slingstone. He has a +1 bonus for short range and an additional +1 for his halfling special ability in missile fire. It's only an 8. The stone is terribly off target. Yolanda fires her bow with a +1 bonus for short range as well. She rolls a 16 and hits easily. 2 damage. Ilyena strikes out with her sword and gets a natural 1. She stumbles over the rubble and strikes the wall above the fireplace. Claudius swings his mace wildly, and he hits for 4 damage. I will now perform a morale check to see if the bat will continue to fight. The bat flies off through the west doorway, squeaking wildly. The party takes the opportunity to rest and recover. Ilyena notices something in the rubble at her feet, which she may not have seen if she had not stumbled over it. It seems one of the pieces of rubble which was shaken loose by the bat is an onyx gem. She retrieves it and puts it in her large sack with the rest of the collected treasure. The party move west in the direction that the bat flew away. The room is 30 feet by 30 feet, with another doorway to the north, which the door is missing from. The room is filled with boxes and crates of many shapes and sizes, and looks like a storage area. On one of the boxes rests the bat, and as the party enters, it soars towards them once again. Will the giant bat get the better of the party this time, sinking its sharp teeth into the flesh of one of our heroes and leaving them on the dust-covered floor to decompose? Or will the party overcome the flying devil and discover whatever secrets and treasure the ruined castle holds? Stay tuned. You have been listening to the Tales of Mystara podcast. I sincerely hope you have enjoyed this episode. If you have listened on YouTube, then I would appreciate you taking the time to subscribe, click the like button, and let me know your thoughts in a comment. If you have listened on iTunes, then I would appreciate it if you would leave a 5-star review. These things really help, and they let me know that the work I put into this podcast is worth it, and that I am making content that people like. After all, that's why I'm doing this. Once again, thanks for listening. I'll see you next session.